Hello, this is Coach Lydia Knight, and we are ending eating disorders and freeing women from every cage. And freedom is having the most enjoyable amount of food. Notice how it's not the right amount of food or how much you should have, but having the amount of food that is very most enjoyable. Because when we are in this struggle with food, we have completely lost touch of what we would enjoy and what we want. It's weighing the amount of grams that is supposed to be correct for the goal weight that we're trying to get to. It is following the food plan and knowing exactly how much. It's counting out 10 almonds because that's 100 calories and you can't have more than that for a snack. It's these insane, artificial amounts of food that have nothing to do with what we want, or our own pleasure, or what would fulfill us, or what would nourish us. It's literally giving up all of our power to some creation that someone else made that has nothing to do with us. And freedom is being able to approach food and have what is most enjoyable. Now, if you're gonna have some food, an enjoyable amount is not, oh, I just wanna smell it. Let me just smell the peanut butter. A smell is not a satisfying amount of food. Counting it out in our hands or measuring it flat on a tablespoon is not an enjoyable amount of food. That is something that leaves us craving and wanting and unsatisfied. It's also not enjoyable to binge. Now, understand that when you're in this food struggle and when you're feeling so deprived, it can feel enjoyable to binge because you're finally letting go and you're letting yourself be nourished, and you're not in like a healthy way, but like you're letting yourself not be restricted anymore, and you go into the binging, but the pleasure isn't in the actual bulk of food you're eating. The pleasure or the relief and the release is really in like finally not quite knuckling it anymore, okay? So I wanna make that distinction. When you're on the side of freedom, it is not enjoyable or pleasurable to binge. Like, I couldn't make myself binge at this point. Like, that just seems horrible to me. Like, to eat a whole bunch of food until my stomach is distended and like I'm feeling ill, like, there's no part of that that sounds fun. If it was like 0 calories, it would make no impact on my body, I still wouldn't do it because it's horrible. The thing that used to be, I was trying not to do it all day, is the thing now that if it was available to me, I'd be like, no thanks. So it's not actually enjoyable to eat these massive amounts of food and to binge on them. So being able to eat the most pleasurable amount of food is like, oh, I feel really satisfied and I don't want any more. That's what you get to experience as a normal eater. You start eating something and it's delicious and you enjoy it. It's not everything in the world. It's not that big of a deal because it's just food, but you eat it and you enjoy it. And then when you've had the most enjoyable amount of it, you lose interest in it. No matter how delicious it was, you're like, oh, I don't want any more because I'm already satisfied. That's what you get to experience as a normal eater. And no matter how long it's been, and even if you could never remember that, and even if your mom told you that even when you were breastfeeding, you were crazy about food, like, just understand that when you step into freedom, that normal eating is really who you are. The reason that you felt crazy around food is because we have taught ourselves that through these horrible habits that we create, and that's where disordered eating comes from. But your default is normal eating. And normal eating means that you get to enjoy the most enjoyable amount of food. So for your next step to freedom, go to lifewithlydia.com.